Please rise while the colors are posted. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our opening prayer. Tom Walsh will lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, you who are the source of our life, strength, and purpose. In your presence alone we find health, hope, and life. Guide us during the hour of fellowship and the reflection to be grounded and with a healing reminder of your love to all whose lives we touch this day. It is in your glory we gather and offer our prayers. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Peter K. Goebel, the Director of the Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. We have gathered here this morning to honor a deceased Rensselaer County veteran for the month of December, and that veteran is Joseph G. Campbell. We are honored to have with us this morning his family members, his daughter, Deborah Giordano, Joseph's son-in-law, Robert Giordano, Joseph's grandson and U.S. Army veteran, David Giordano, Joseph's great-grandson, Joseph Giordano, son-in-law and New York Army National Guard veteran Maynard Daigle, his granddaughter Janice Daigle, son-in-law and John Groark, granddaughter Eileen Groark, niece Karen Wolf, niece and her husband Ruth and Dick Clements, family friend and U.S. Navy veteran Tom Wolf, nephew Bob Crackler, niece and nephew-in-law, U.S. Army veteran Dennis and Cynthia O'Sullivan, and nephew and U.S. Navy veteran William Campbell. Thank you all for being here. Also with us today to honor our Veteran of the Month are representing Congressman Paul Tonko, Colleen Williams, Congressman John Faso, former Congressman Michael McNulty, New York State Senator Kathy Marchione, New York State Assemblyman Jake Ashby, Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin, New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman Mike Stammel, Rensselaer County Legislative Vice Chairman for Finance Bob Loveridge, Rensselaer County Legislative Majority Leader and Chairman of the Legislative Veterans Committee, Kenneth Harrington, and representing the Waterville Arsenal, Mr. Matthew Day. We also have County Legislators Dan Casal and Tom Grant. As we are all well aware, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are special days to remember all of our veterans. This program was created to help us honor our veterans all year round. To us here in Rensselaer County, every day is Veterans Day. The Rensselaer County Honor a Deceased Veteran Program represents veterans organizations throughout the entire county. This includes members of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Lansingburg, Military Order of the Purple Heart, Marine Corps League, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Korean War Veterans, Tri-County Council of Vietnam-era Veterans, Heroes at Home, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, Vietnam Veterans of America, AMVETS, and the Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. I will now ask Mike Stammel, Rensselaer County Legislative Chairman, to come forward to tell us about our honored veteran for the month of December, Joseph G. Campbell.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody to the Rensselaer County Legislative Chambers. As said, welcome. My name is Mike Stammel. I'm the chairman of the Rensselaer County Legislature, and we are honored this month to honor the deceased veteran with the Deceased Veterans Program. This month we are honoring the life and service of Joseph G. Campbell. And as you'll soon hear, that Private Campbell lived a life that would be classified to many people as the American dream. He was a local hero. Okay, he was self-sufficient in a lot of things he did. He was a true family man. He was a team player. Showed that even as his youth. And he was an entrepreneur. So all those things were very important to him, and he was very successful at them all. Joseph was born in Colony. He was one of 9 children born to James and Mary Martell Campbell. Joseph had 4 sisters, Margaret, Agnes, Eleanor, and Mary. And 4 brothers, James, William, and a twin brother, John and Vincent. The family lived on a farm in East Greenbush, and Joseph attended St. John's in Rensselaer. Joseph excelled in baseball and basketball. During his high school, his St. John's Academy basketball team received an invitation to play in a National Catholic High School tournament in Chicago, Illinois. Must have been the thrill of his life, that's for sure. After Joseph graduated high school in 1930, he went right back to work on the family farm, just as he had done during his education and youth. He started trapping animals and selling their pelts for extra money. His hard work and savings paid off, as Joseph went on to own his own and operated Campbell's Sunoco service station in Rensselaer. In the evening, Joseph continued his love for playing sports and went on to be named the most valuable player in the Rensselaer Twilight League. Very, very, very great league here in the Capital Region for sports activities and baseball. On September 19th, 1938, Joseph married his wife, Harriet Matson Campbell, at St. John's Church in Rensselaer, New York. Together, they had 3 daughters, Barbara Campbell Daigle, Carol Susan Campbell Groke, and Deborah Campbell, let's see, Giordano, there you go. Okay, thank you. On March 3rd, 1944, Joseph enlisted the United States Army in Albany, New York, leaving behind his beloved family, his wife, Harriet, and their 3 daughters. Private Campbell arrived in the European theater on February 6th, 1945, as part of the Company B, 14th Infantry Regiment. Private Campbell served as a rifleman in combat with the 71st Infantry Division, often acting in 1st Scout due to his proficiency in using a wide variety of infantry weapons, such as the M1 rifle, machine gun, and mortars, as well as his ability to read maps and use a compass. Private Campbell's regiment known as the Golden Dragons arrived in La Havre on February 6, 1945, and then moved some 350 miles across France at Rotsweiler in the 71st Division, relieved by the 100th Division. On March 21st, and 14th Infantry took part in the 71st Division breaching of the Siegfried Line and captured of the Perminium on March 30th. The 71st crossed the Rhine River and went into reserve near Frankfurt. The 14th Infantry then participated along with its sister regiment, the 5th Infantry, in the elimination of the bypassed German focus north of Hanau, Germany, on April 2nd. On April 13th, the Golden Dragons cut the main Berlin to Munich Autobahn. From April 14th to the 16th, the 14th Infantry participated in its heaviest combat as the 71st Division seized the town of Bayreuth, Germany, bypassing Germany's strong points, and the 71st Division sped south, and then the 14th Infantry crossed the Danube River and participating in the seizure in the city of Regensburg. On April 27th, from there, the 14th made an assault across the Isar River under heavy fire and entered into Austria on the May 22nd. The 71st Division linked up with advancing Soviet Army units east of Linz, Austria, on May 8th, and hostilities ceased on May 9th, 1945. Very full couple of months he had there, that's for sure. On January 16th, 1946, Private First Class Campbell was honorarily discharged from the United States Army at Fort Dix, New Jersey. For his honorable service to his country, P.C. Campbell was awarded the Army Good Conduct Medal, the European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, the 2 Bronze Service Stars, and a World War II Victory Medal. Upon his honorable discharge from the United States Army, Joseph returned to civilian life and settled back into family life in Rensselaer, New York. Joseph returned to operating his service station in Rensselaer to support his growing family with Henrietta, and grew to include 3 daughters, Barbara, Carol, and Deborah. Joseph would retire from his service station in 1978 after 45 years of operation. In his spare time, Joseph enjoyed trout fishing. He was also an excellent fisherman who often brought home the limit and grew vegetables in the family farm. He loved being with his family, traveling to the South with his wife to escape the winter weather and to visit his twin brother and nephew. Well, we'd all like to do that escape right about now, huh? Good for him. Joseph was also active member of the Gerald O'Neill American Legion Post, the Knights of Columbus in Rensselaer, New York, and the E.F. Hart Hose Pumper Volunteer Fire Department. Sadly, on February 16, 1988, Joseph passed away, leaving behind his lovely wife, Henrietta, his daughter, Barbara, Carol, and Deborah, his 7 grandchildren, Kathleen, Sheila, Janice, Elizabeth, James, Ellen, and David, his sister, Agnes, Eleanor, and Mary, his brothers John and Vincent, and 11 great-grandchildren. Joseph was preceded by his parents James and Mary, his sister Margaret, and his brother James and William. Joseph is buried in the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery in Rensselaer, New York. We are thankful for Joseph Campbell's service to our great country, and we are honored that the family allowed us to recognize Joseph this morning. Thank you very much.
I will now ask Congressman John Faso and Colleen Williams, representing Congressman Paul Tonko, to come forward. We want to give our special thanks to Congressman Faso for his wholehearted support of our program and for our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to your office and Steve McLaughlin, the county executive, and the county legislature for bringing forth this tremendous ceremony. And also I want to give recognition to former Congressman Mike McNulty, who helped initiate this ceremony every month here in Rensselaer County. And my colleague Paul Tonko and I are so grateful for the service of your relative Joe Campbell. He was part of that greatest generation. And unfortunately, Congressman Tonko had to get to Washington early this week, so he cannot be here. But I think it's really fitting, if you think about it. Why do we do these ceremonies? We do these ceremonies so that we always remember the service and sacrifice of our veterans. People like Joe Campbell, ordinary citizens called forth by their country to serve, who did extraordinary things. And we do this, it's especially fitting that we have Joe's great-grandson, Joe Giordano, here with us. Good morning. The reason we are honoring your great-grandfather is because we want to always give honor and remembrance to people like your great-grandfather who served that flag, who went forth to defend our country at a time of great turmoil. And we think about it, World War II was an amazing situation, not only for the catastrophe that befell the world, but ordinary citizens came forth from the United States after we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, whose that date, December 7th, 1941, we just commemorated last week. Ordinary citizens came forth from all around this country. They left their homes, their families, their farms, their businesses, their jobs. They left their loved ones, not knowing whether they would ever come home. And you think about Joe Campbell, his service, he was drafted at the age of 33 years old. He already was married with a family, and yet he willingly came forth to defend our country. And he went forward with so many others in those last few months of very, very difficult, hard fighting to defeat Germany, to defeat Nazi Germany and all of it that it represented, to defend freedom for our country. So it is a great honor for Congressman Tonko and I today to present this flag flown over the Capitol in commemoration of his service. And this is not just to remember Joe Campbell, but he is the person who represents all of the other veterans from Rensselaer County and across America who went forward. So I hope that his great-grandson always will remember the service to his country of his great-grandfather, and always recognize that the men and women who go forth, and you see some of them here in the audience today wearing their caps, commemorating their service in the military, always remember the honor that we owe these people, always remember their service, and always remember that America cannot be free unless men and women are willing to help defend it. And that's what Joe Campbell did. So with that, Colleen and I will present the flag. So on behalf of Congressman Paul Tonko and myself, and the people of Rensselaer County and the United States of America, we are proud to present this flag to you as Joe Campbell's daughter in memory of his service to our country. May he always be remembered, and may his service and sacrifice to our country always be remembered. And may you have this flag as a commemoration of our respect and admiration for his service, and know that your family for generations to come will have this flag and treasure it as a memento of our honor and dedication to Joe Campbell's memory. May he rest in peace, and may God bless America. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I will now ask our Rensselaer County Executive, Steve McLaughlin, to come forward.
Well, good morning, and thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and join with all of my colleagues at the federal, state, county, local level. And I just want to take a moment to certainly recognize Congressman Faso and Senator Marchione. This is their last official ceremony with us, and we want to thank them for their incredible service to the people of Rensselaer County and to the state and to the nation. And you are absolutely going to be missed, but we wish you all the best. And I say maybe this is the last official ceremony for now, because you never know what the future holds. So we are going to miss them greatly. Also want to recognize Congressman McNulty, who was instrumental in starting these ceremonies. And someone just said at the beginning of this is a big deal. This is kind of a big deal. It is. It's a big deal. We do this every month here in Rensselaer County. Peter Goebel and his team and our county legislature, you know, we try to honor our veterans every single day. And we do say every day is Veterans Day in Rensselaer County. Some days are a little bit more special than others, but every day we try to honor our veterans. And when you look at the life of Joe Campbell, it's like reading through a couple episodes of Band of Brothers. You know, that's amazing. As John said, he was 32, 33 when he went in. That's pretty old nowadays. They were drafting everybody back then, but nowadays they'd be calling him Grandpa in basic training, right? They probably did anyway. And then he hit the ground running, because in about 3 months he saw saw years and years worth of action. So, and you look at that, what they were doing around there, moving all over the place and defending Europe and really freeing the world from tyranny. So clearly part of the greatest generation. I chuckled a bit when it said that he was usually first scout because of his proficiency with firearms. Like, that sounds like a Rensselaer County guy to me. Very proficient at trapping and a heck of a baseball player and basketball player as well. So really the quintessential Rensselaer County guy. And you know, and I always am amazed. I always say this, that they came back home, took off the uniform, went back to work, and probably didn't talk a lot about what went on over there, right? That's very typical of what we see. They came back to work, they came back, raised a family, just did what they had to do to continue to build this country after World War I. So we are forever in debt to Joe and all of his compatriots, and we thank you for letting us honor him here today. Thank you.
I will now ask Rensselaer County Legislative Majority Leader and Legislative Veterans Committee Chairman Kenneth Harrington and the assembled county legislators to come forward.
Yeah. Good morning, and as Chairman of the Veterans Committee, I get the honor of presenting this proclamation to you, the family of Joseph G. Campbell, on behalf of the Rensselaer County Legislature. I, too, would like to say thank you to Congressman Passo and Senator Marchione for their time and making sure they come every month, or send a representative. Usually make it, too. Thank you very much for being here. I'd like to thank the committee also. Tom Walsh is up there, I see, and Colonel Walsh was a legislator for 20 years and ran this program probably for most of those 20 years. So thank you, and thank you guys all for attending each and every month. When I looked at some of the backup here a few days ago on Joe Campbell, I recognize he was a farmer. I can relate to that because that's what I do for a living still. But I said, wow, this guy is 32, 33 years old, and he's enlisted. And then I read some of the backup a little further and realized he got drafted. But you know, and so in the backup also there was a Merry Christmas letter here, and I'm not going to read it all, but the first paragraph said, it was a Christmas letter from Debbie and Bob, his daughter Debbie and Bob, and his son-in-law, I guess. And it says, just imagine what he was feeling. A 32-year-old happily married man with 2 young children, suddenly drafted in 1944. My dad, Joseph Campbell, had no choice. He was compelled to say goodbye to all that was precious and familiar. He to leave his business, exchanging his Sunoco service station uniform for U.S. Army fatigues, and venture into the European theater in that great effort to vanquish all that threatened life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Webster defines vanquish as to overcome in battle or to defeat in conflict. He sure as heck did that, didn't he? It always amazes me, these guys, you know, and they get drafted. I'm sure they said, wow, what frustration for a while, but they went on to serve and do it with all they had in their heart and all they had in their mind. I mean, it was just another job that they had to do to keep this country free, and they did it, and they did it well, I'm sure. I know they did, because we're still a free country. So, as chairman of the committee for the County Legislative Veterans Committee, I'd like to say thank you, Joseph, and thank you to the family for taking time out for allowing us to honor him and his service. Thank you.
I will now ask New York State Senator Kathy Marchione to come forward. We want to also give our special thanks to Senator Marchione for her wholehearted support of our program and of our veterans. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here with all of you, and I also want to add my thanks to everyone who's been involved in these ceremonies month after month. Peter, thank you. Steve, thank you. Former Congressman, this was your idea. Thank you. And in each of my counties that I serve, there is a veteran ceremony each month, and you spearheaded that. Thank you. And as Steve said, and I truly believe Rensselaer County really takes the time and the effort and the care and the concern and the love for our veterans each and every day. And the ceremonies that you have and the things that you do for your veterans are something that I'm very proud to be part of and to have been able to serve with through the years that I've served as senator. So Steve, thank you so very much. Congressman Faso, it has been a true honor and privilege to serve alongside of you. Thank you for the service that you have provided to our district that you serve, for standing strong, for doing what was right, and for caring deeply about our veterans. And I know that you have and that you do each and every day. And I know, like her former congressman, that will not stop when you leave your service as well. So thank you to everyone who's been involved in these ceremonies. It's such an honor for me to be here to talk about Joseph Campbell, who, of course, you told me today would be 102, so none of us got to know him. But we get to know him through the research that you have done, Deborah, and what you have brought forward. Deborah told me earlier that this really, in the research she's done, has been for his great-grandson to be able to know his great-grandfather. And what a wonderful thing to do is to teach our young people about their family and how they served. You know, I read one time that we only know back to the third generation, and we don't even know about what they've done. So to keep their memory alive, especially a memory like this. And as others have said, at 33 years old with a family intact, to leave them to serve our country was really something that generation did. And it's so true and it's so fitting that they're known as the greatest generation, because as he left, your grandmother had to step up and take care of the children, and the men were gone. And I've told this story before, my mother-in-law was epitome of femininity. She was a welder in the shipyard. While the men were gone, the women just came forward and took over of what they needed to do. And we talk about the service so that when they come back, they don't miss a beat. And he didn't miss a beat. Think of the women who didn't miss a beat as well. They were out doing things, and all of a sudden, they all were coming back home because the men were home. That was such a transitional period, but they all did what was necessary to make sure our country was free, the world was free, and their families were cared for. You know, we fast forward, my father owned an auto body shop. He owned Crescent Auto Body. And I wonder if during that time, if our fathers didn't know each other, because that type of business, they all knew each other. And my dad was an avid hunter as well. And opposite ends of the spectrum, my father was 14 years old, and he enlisted to go away at that time. I'm sure he wasn't supposed to. And I thought that he was like an anomaly, but it was not. There was a whole group of young people who cared so deeply about their country. So the sacrifices that your father made and the sacrifices that my father made at 14 and at 33 were sacrifices so that we could be free today. So such an honor. We fast forward a little bit further, and our lives came together again as you you were so much a part of my campaign, both of you, Bob and Deborah. Thank you. I want to publicly personally thank you for helping me like you did, and for the values and that you have in your family as your lives have gone forward. So thank you personally from me. And as Senator, I get to bring with me today the New York State Liberty Award. And that award, and I will read it, is presented for exceptional valor and dedication on behalf of the people of the state of New York, and it is honoring Joseph G. Campbell posthumously. It is the highest award that you can receive in the state of New York, and fittingly today, it's being given to your dad.
I will now ask New York State Assemblyman Jake Ashby and New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III to come forward.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, County Executive McLaughlin, Senator Marchione, Congressman Fazo, and Congressman McNulty. Such a wonderful platform to recognize service. And, I sometimes fail to mention that without Congressman McNulty, I wouldn't have been given the opportunity to serve my country in the United States Army. And so it's befitting that each time I come here, I'm reminded of that for the work he did to help me be able to serve. To the family of Joseph Campbell, wow, what a tremendous story. And, in the military, we have this terminology or this theme called operational tempo, op tempo, and it describes how quickly you're moving and how quickly your operations are coming to fruition, and you're executing them and you're continuing to go on. And, from the start, it sounded like he had a high operational tempo at birth and was just continuing to succeed and pursue as his life went on. And then, man, once he hit the ground in Europe, they were really moving. I mean, they continued to advance at lightning speed. And that doesn't happen, he doesn't do that solo. He had a pretty good unit to be with, and, they got the job done. But then when he came home, he also lived at a pretty high operational tempo. And again, that doesn't happen on accident or by himself. That happens because he has a tremendous support system, his family. And look at what it has produced over the years and what has continued to produce. And, Rensselaer County provides a great opportunity to recognize this tradition, and I think it's wonderful that there are multi-generations here to take part in that tradition. And I'm certainly grateful to take part of it. And I know my colleague, John McDonald in the Assembly, is also proud. And together we'd like to present this citation to your family for his service. Thank you.
Tim Forbes from the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee will present the committee plaque at this time. Will the committee members please stand?
On behalf of the committee, the citizens of Rensselaer County and the veterans here assembled, please accept this plaque as a symbol of our appreciation for your well-known service and everything that is said and so true. Thank you. Congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Please stand for the closing prayer and a moment of silence for 41st President George H.W. Bush.
The day is done. Gone the sun from the lake, the hill, and the sky. All is well. God of compassion, dignity, and strength, watch over this veteran and his family. Bless him and grant his family comfort and everlasting peace. Amen.
Amen. Retire the colors. This concludes our Honor Vet ceremony for this month. Thank you for coming to honor our deceased veteran for the month of December, Joseph G. Campbell. Please join us for our next Honor Veteran ceremony scheduled for January 14th. Have a wonderful Christmas. Before we go our separate ways, we will take a few family photos. Then we will reassemble shortly at our county flagpole outside to raise the flag in Joseph's memory. Thank you again.